They found a nun who had been dead for 23 years. But every night at exactly 3:17 a.m., someone rings the chapel bell. In a remote village surrounded by dense forest and constant mist stood the ruins of St. Mary's Convent. It had been abandoned for decades. The walls were cracked, the windows shattered, and vines had swallowed most of its structure. But despite its lifeless appearance, the locals believed one thing with absolute certainty: the convent was not empty. My name is Daniel, and I didn't believe in any of it until I went there myself. I was a freelance journalist traveling across rural areas to document forgotten places. When I first heard about St. Mary's, it sounded like another exaggerated ghost story. The villagers claimed that every night the chapel bell rang on its own. No electricity, no caretaker, nothing, just a bell echoing through the darkness. I decided to stay. The villagers tried to stop me. An old man grabbed my arm and said, "If you hear her, don't answer." I laughed it off. That was my first mistake. I reached the convent just before sunset. The air felt unusually cold even for that time of year. The building stood silent, like it was watching me. I set up my camera, flashlight, and recorder inside what used to be the main prayer hall. Everything was covered in dust, except the floor near the altar. It looked clean, like someone had been kneeling there recently. I brushed it off as coincidence. Maybe animals, maybe wind. As night fell, the silence grew heavier. It wasn't normal silence. It felt like something was pressing against my ears, waiting. 11:45 p.m.
Nothing. 1:10 a.m. Still nothing. I almost convinced myself the whole thing was fake. Then 3:17 a.m. Dong! The bell rang. Loud, clear, impossible. I froze. Dong! Again. The sound echoed through the empty halls like a heartbeat. I grabbed my flashlight and slowly walked toward the chapel tower. Each step felt wrong, like I was not supposed to be there. Then I heard something else. Footsteps. Soft, dragging, slow. Not mine. I turned around quickly. "Hello?" My voice trembled despite myself. No answer, but the footsteps continued. Closer, closer. Then I saw her. At the end of the hallway, standing under the broken archway, was a nun. She was tall, still. Her face was pale, unnaturally pale. Her eyes empty, yet somehow staring directly at me. I couldn't move. She slowly raised her hand and pointed behind me. I turned. Nothing. When I looked back, she was gone. I ran outside, gasping for air. My heart was racing uncontrollably. I kept telling myself it was stress, imagination, anything logical. But then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The bell tower. It had no rope, no mechanism, nothing that could make it ring. The next morning, I went back to the village and demanded answers. That's when they finally told me the full story. 23 years ago, there was a nun named Sister Agnes. She was known for her kindness. She took care of orphans, fed the poor, and never left the convent. But one night, a fire broke out. The entire convent burned. Everyone escaped except her.
They said she refused to leave because there was one child still inside. She went back in to save him. Neither of them came out. After that night, the bell started ringing every night at 3:17 a.m., the exact time the fire had taken everything. I wanted proof, real proof, so I went back one last time. This time, I brought better equipment, cameras in every corner, audio recorders, motion sensors. I was determined to capture something undeniable. 3:17 a.m. came again. The bell rang. This time, I didn't run. I followed the sound straight to the chapel, and there I saw her again. But this time, she wasn't alone. Beside her stood a small child, burned, silent, holding her hand. My chest tightened. The nun looked at me, not with fear, not with anger, but with something else, sadness. She slowly moved toward the altar and knelt down. The child stayed standing, watching me.
Then, in a soft, broken voice, the nun spoke. "Did they remember?" Her voice sounded like it came from deep underwater. I didn't know what to say. "Did anyone pray for him?" The child tightened his grip on her hand, and suddenly I understood. All these years, people remembered the fire, they remembered the tragedy, but no one remembered the child. No name, no prayer, no closure, just forgotten. I whispered, "I will." The moment I said that, everything changed. The air grew warmer, the pressure lifted. The child slowly looked up at the nun and for the first time smiled. The nun closed her eyes, and then they disappeared. The bell never rang again after that night, not once. I returned to the village and told them everything. At first, they didn't believe me, but when weeks passed and the silence remained, they began to accept it. We held a prayer, not just for Sister Agnes, but for the child no one remembered.